after graduating high school, we started going to community college and simultaneously got into the mortgage industry. This was early to mid 2000s. And we just fell in love with the business. And so within 6 months of being in it, we dropped out of college. And that was the first time in our lives that everybody thought we were insane.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here at Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks. Today, it's going to be an exciting episode. We have some footage prior to of an episode that did not get released. Okay, so we're revamping this episode. I'm super excited for this one, though, because we have two amazing guests, and then obviously we're outside of our setting. We have a third guest that usually we have a specific setting that we go to every single time we do the podcast. This time, we're in the Neighborhood Loan studio, and I am proud to announce that we're here with Tony and Reno, the owners of the company. So thank you guys for your amazing time, and thank you guys for being here today. And then obviously Dwight's here.
Thanks for having us. Nonsense, man. You guys made me come out here to my cigar place, but thank you, Justin, for having us again.
No, of course. It's super exciting, man. I think today is going to be really, really impactful for a lot of people that are in the industry, just so that way they can hear your background story. The most important part, right, whenever you're talking about anybody's journey is just understanding the up climb, the journey. How did you guys get to the position that you guys are in? And I love your guys' story. So if you guys don't mind sharing how you guys got into the position that you guys are in right now.
Of course. Reno, you want?
You go ahead and start.
All right. Well, Reno and I, jump for sure. So Reno and I, we're childhood best friends. We've been best friends since we were 10 years old, and we grew up together. So we went to school together. We played sports together. We got into trouble together. And, after graduating high school, we started going to community college and simultaneously got into the mortgage industry. This was early to mid 2000s. And we just fell in love with the business. And so within 6 months of being in it, we dropped out of college. And that was the first time in our lives that everybody thought we were insane, right? Like, because we were good kids, we had good grades, we played sports, we played football, we wrestled, and we were taking the uncommon path, dropping out of school compared to all of our peers at the time. And so, our family and friends were concerned about us. But we had fallen in love with this business. And within a couple short years, the mortgage meltdown happened. I mean, the mortgage crisis of 2007 and 2008. And before we knew it, like, the industry had changed overnight. But for us, we only wanted to go deeper into it because the changes that had occurred really didn't impact us. We were still new to it, and we were still learning every day. And that, at the time, actually, our friends and family were kind of like, I told you so. Like, you should have continued going to school. And at the age of 22 and 23 years old, we ended up buying Neighborhood Loans, which was a local brokerage at the time owned by two DJs. Julian Jumpin' Perez and Bad Boy Bill actually owned Neighborhood Loans. And through a friend, we were introduced to them. We went and sought them out, and we ended up buying the company outright from them in December of 2009. And, the timing was perfect for us to do it then because we were young. We didn't have a lot of responsibilities outside of taking care of ourselves. So we're able to fully commit our time, energy, and money into this business. And we're able to take some risks that we might not have been able to take later on in life. And so we started growing the company. Actually, the funny thing is when we bought it, there was a third owner. His name was Gene Rasso. And within a couple weeks of buying the company, we get a letter from the state of Illinois wanting to audit our last 3 years of files. And we had not originated any of these loans that they wanted to audit. And so we called Gene, and we're like, Gene, we need your help. We have an audit coming up, and these are all your loans. And frankly, we didn't really know what we were doing yet, right? So Gene, who had ran a mortgage banking company for a decade prior, operationally, had bought into Neighborhood Loans for a short period of time and left to go open a mortgage banking operation for a mortgage servicing company, ended up coming back to our office every night for like 6 weeks to help us prepare for this audit. And did two things for us. He helped us pass this audit with flying colors, and he also gave us an education about mortgage banking that we'd never had before, because all we had ever known prior to that was brokering loans. And so we set up two immediate goals for ourselves. We said we're going to transition this company from a broker to a banker. And it took us about 4 years to do that, to go from broker to mini core to full core to delegated authority to bringing in in-house underwriting, in-house closing, in-house funding. And the second goal was we said we're going to bring Gene back to run it because he knows way more about it than we do, right? And so it took us another year and a half to convince Gene to come back to do that. And he's been our head of operations now nationwide for about the last 9.5 years. And he's just one of those people. Like, you find people in your life that are just have great character, great integrity, and you want to surround yourself with them, right? People who can lift you up. And so I think that was the first milestone for us, was making that transition and that leap. And you know, from there, if we fast forward a little bit, it was 2013 that we ended up going to Stephen Marshall's Mortgage Mastermind event in Las Vegas, and we were 26 at the time now.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like, it's a reason to go to Vegas. Tony Robbins was the keynote speaker. We were super interested in him. And it was day 2 at the event. And on stage, this guy comes up and he's yelling and screaming, and he really got our attention. And so he's saying, everybody here that you're listening to is a phony. They're all supposed to be teaching you how to make $1 million a year. And I'm the only guy that brought my W-2. And we were locked in on his message, right? And so that guy's name was Rick Ruby, and Rick Ruby is the owner of the Core Training. And so we sought Rick out after that and introduced ourselves to him. We got on a CD program, and Reno started calling him like vigorously. Actually, at first he tried emailing him.
Email, call, text.
Yeah.
Email, call, text.
The follow-up game was there.
Yeah, everything's bouncing back. I'm like, this guy's not real.
And so eventually he gets him on the phone, and we start seeking him out. And he had told us no. Like, we wanted to be in his program. And he had told us no for a long time. I think it took a year to convince him to come out and see us. And I think this is how it went, if I recall correctly. He loved our persistency, and then finally asked us, he's like, let me ask you boys, how much money did you make last year anyway? And I think that year we made $1.1 million each. And he was like, no, you didn't. Like, he just didn't believe us, right?
Yeah.
We're like, yes, we did. Now, we had made it, but we hadn't taken it. There's a difference between earning income and taking income, right? So we continue to leave money in the company to grow the company, but, you know, he didn't find that out until a little bit later.
Yeah.
So we sent him our tax returns, and he goes, you boys really did make $1 million. He goes, I'll tell you what, pay me $20,000, and I'll come out and do a keynote talk for your salespeople, and I'll teach them how to do more loans. We'll spend some time together. We'll go to dinner. We'll go have a cigar, and if I like you, I'll let you in the program. So we did that, and it was after that event that we ended up joining the Core, which was probably summer of 2015. Yeah, summer of 2015, because we've been in it for 9.5 years, and that was a huge milestone for us because the Core has really impacted our trajectory from where we're at that point. We had just transitioned to becoming full bankers. Now we got into a program of surrounding ourselves with some of the most elite mortgage reps, loan reps in the country. I mean, to be a coach in the Core, you have to make $1 million a year. You have to have at least $2 million saved, and you have to be in production today. That's what we love about it. A lot of coaching programs out there, and a lot of them are great, but some of them don't have people that are currently in the business, and you want to be learning from people that are doing what you do, right? And so for us to tap into this network was awesome because it allowed us to get I call it, that was our master's degree in running a professional sales organization, right? And so for the majority of our time in the Core, we had been coached directly by Rick, and Rick is a tough coach.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we needed, right? And then around 2018, Rick had introduced us to one of his top coaches. His name was Kevin. He said, hey boys, now we're the boys. Anyone that knows us, meets us, and most of our networks calls us the boys. And he goes, hey boys, I need a favor. And we said, whatever it is. The answer is yes. And he said, I have a student, I have a coach of mine who's thinking about opening up a mortgage company. You guys run a great company. I want you to barter. I want you to teach him how to open up a company, and he's going to come coach your sales reps on how to do more business. Now, Kevin is from Grand Rapids, Michigan. That year, it's 2018, that year I think he did 606 transactions, was the #1 rep in Michigan, and ran an office that did over 1,000 loans a year in addition to that. And so, I mean, this is kind of like a gold standard in what branches
100%.
want to become.
Right.
A top loan rep in your state, running one of the top branches in the state. And so we said, absolutely. So Kevin comes out and does a sales talk for us. And we start laying down the blueprint of step by step. Here's, if you're going to open from scratch or purchase, here's how to transition from broker to banker. Here's the contacts you need. I mean, we even started making calls to some of our vendors, getting them going. And then he gives us a call at the end and he said, hey boys, I made 2 decisions. The first one is I'm not interested in opening up a company anymore. I said, I built my business on three things. I close on time, I close smooth, and I offer a better experience than any of my competition. And what I've realized is the amount of time it's going to take me to go backwards and build all of the things that I currently utilize to provide these 3 brand promises is going to take too long. And B, I have a team of 55 people that I would need to drag through the mud with me to do that, and I'm not willing to do that to them. And we said, we understand. And then he said, the second decision I've made is I think I'm going to be making a move and going to a different company. I haven't chosen what company yet. Everybody wants me. Every major lender in the country is talking to me. And so, I just thought I'd give you a heads up. So we hung up with Kevin. The next call, we called Rick, and we were like, Rick, Kevin just called us. He said he doesn't want to open up a company anymore. He said he's going to be making a move. We love Kevin. What do you think about Kevin coming here? And I think the call went something like this. Let me think. I love Kevin. He's one of my best coaches. He's one of the best loan reps I know. He would be great for you. I love you boys. You run a great company. You're lean and mean. You really take care of your people. You'd be great for him. I don't think there's a chance in hell you'd ever get him, but you have my blessing. Good luck, bye. And it was like a 45-second phone call. And within 60 days, I think we shocked most of the people in the core. Kevin and his team transitioned to neighborhood loans.
Wow.
And it was our first office. We had 4 offices at the time in Illinois, and it was our first office outside of Illinois. It was the beginning of going from a good local company to a good regional company. Since Kevin's came on, we've opened 37 offices. We're licensed in 46 states now. We have grown and became, I mentioned it earlier, direct seller to Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie Mae, which is a big deal because it gives us end-to-end control of the entire process. And our vision for this company going forward, as we've attracted some of the biggest talent, people like Dwight here, which is a whole nother story, one of my favorite stories ever, which I'll mention in a little bit. But our goal is to be the best company out there, not necessarily the biggest. A lot of people are looking for volume. We think volume is an empty metric, right? Because volume doesn't necessarily mean for companies that you're making money. For us, we want to be surrounded by the best and be known as the best, which means the way that we measure that, our loan reps will do more loans per loan rep than any other company. And right now, if I'm not mistaken, we hold that record within the peer groups that we're in. And that's something we're super proud of.
Right.
So I always have a saying, like the people who talk the most on these things are the ones who think that it went the best. So obviously right now, I think this thing's going great.
First off, I love the
It's going
story.
great.
I do really love the story. And just based off your guys' story from the beginning, I always say ignorance is bliss, right? When I first got into industry, I had no idea interest rates. I didn't know what a good interest rate was. Everyone was saying 2%, 3% was a great interest rate, and I just didn't even know what a mortgage was. And I was luckily getting into the market when it was one of the best markets of all time. So hearing your guys' story, I don't think you guys know how much you not only inspire me, but I'm sure all the other young individuals that are in the business, because you guys started a company not having any knowledge of anything. And that was honestly a beautiful, hard thing to do, but that was probably the best time that you could do it. And we always talk about it, sometimes and a lot of things in life, things are half chance, right? We can't pick and choose whether or not who our parents were or who the people that, we grew up with, but we can choose the people that we surround ourselves with. And that's the beautiful part about your guys' story and journey. And yesterday we had a podcast, we were talking about, how our team and the camaraderie is the reason why we've been able to grow. I got lucky. I had one of the best coaches and, people around me that help uplift me and grow to the position that we're in. But I want to dive deeper back into you guys' mindset when you were starting up the company, right? Like when what kind of drove you? Was there a certain experience? And I know you mentioned in the story, family members telling you, okay, you shouldn't get into this industry, that it's falling. Did that drive you guys to get into the position that you guys are in
I think that's part of it. I think the other part is being at other mortgage companies and not being in the inner circle. Every company has an inner circle where if you're not in that small little circle, you don't get certain resources and stuff like that. We felt that at a young age. So we, at a young age, also thought, let's open up our own company and change the game, right? Let's make this place the Disney World for loan officers. Yeah. And so when we found the opportunity to buy neighborhood loans, the first thing that we did was, all right, what's the first thing that we can do to help our LOs? Let's start with some marketing. Let's start with some leads. Let's start with other things that we never had at our previous companies. Right. And then from there, just catapulted. And we started with one marketing guy to 2 to 3 to now, I don't know how many we have, probably 15 here and then another 10, 12 nationally.
Right.
But I think that was one big thing is, being able to provide a good service for our loan officers.
That's super important. I don't think that there's a mortgage company doing it out there the way that you guys are doing on the marketing side, especially. No. And I think that's why you guys have been able to grow because you guys are very focused on those. From the beginning of this industry, I've never felt as if I never had the support. Right. Again, I had a very good coach and he's sitting right there. But ultimately for me, getting into the industry, I never really skipped a beat. I knew how to work hard. I knew how to try to generate as much business as I possibly can. But I never felt like I didn't have a family here. Like it's a family-based company, and I appreciate you guys' leadership. But I think for me, right, like I can only share from my experience when I got into the industry. The number one thing that I do remember is first getting into industry, you do get a lot of that. Like, oh, well, COVID's happening, or it was a little bit before COVID. What if the housing market crashes? You're getting to an industry where your income's going to go up and down. A lot of like backlash because my family was very W-2 based, consistent income, salary based, very, very safe, right? It was very easy to kind of get into it. So when I first got into industry, he was the first one to tell me like, hey, this is a different ballgame. This is sales. Your income is not guaranteed. Right. And I do remember those memories vividly, though. I remember every person's name that told me not to get into industry. I remember every moment that people told me not to. And this doesn't just apply to this industry. This applies to working out. This applies to almost every aspect of my life. I remember vivid memories of every single person who might told me, you're not going to get big. You're gonna stay this way or whatever. Not gonna make whatever it. Right. That drives me. That pushes me to get to the position that I feel as if I'm in today. And you guys had Rick Ruby. I think he's the Mexican Rick Ruby right here. This dude drives me like nobody else. I could probably do 50 million tomorrow, and he'd be like, well,
55.
55, right? Like, what about 60, And I think that's super important. For you guys, do you guys have vivid memories when you're on the come up? Do you guys remember those hard times where like you had to dig deep into yourselves? Because, I'm sure the first 5 years in your company, it wasn't
there's several.
But there's a mindset you guys have. I think it's your upbringing because he might be the more vocal one, but he's a freaking animal. This guy's he's relentless. I remember, when I first met these guys, he would call me like consistently, like he wouldn't stop until go to dinner. I mean, this guy, he's the most persistent. I would say the best recruiters are these two guys here, but this guy is like constant. He is always calling tech like he's an animal, but it's the mindset that they have, which is put them where they're at today. By the way. But again, it's I think it's your upbringing, right? I think you guys talked about you guys being friends for early age. Yeah. I know that my upbringing has made me who I am, but I think it's your upbringing that made you who you guys are. I don't know too much of a backstory, but I think that's why you guys are geared that way.
We had modest.
I mean, look at this guy losing 20 pounds in what, 2 weeks?
Both of them.
3 days.
It's insane.
Both of you guys.
Yeah, we had modest and humble upbringings. You know,
Yeah.
we grew up together. It was one street over. We lived in attached single-family homes that were like 1,400 square feet. And at sometimes other family members lived with us, right? Like money was a constant topic in our household. So we grew up wanting to make it. We're talking about neighborhood. The first business we had was
At 12.
Frosty snow removal. I mean, like we were teenagers making flyers, going to Ace Hardware because we didn't have a printer,
Yep.
paying like 25 cents or 10 cents a copy, going door to door, knocking on people's doors, and saying, "Hey, you work really hard. Why would you
Don't
have
hurt
to,
your back before
why would you
work."
have to- yeah, let us take care of that.
Call
for you, right?
Frosties.
And then we had a pager that I think we
Yeah,
shared.
yeah.
But I mean, we didn't just leave the flyers. We knocked and made the sale.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were hungry, and we are still hungry today. And I think that has a lot to do with our upbringing. And yes, there's lots of trials and tribulations that you go through when you're climbing the mountain of success. And we still go through trials and tribulations today, but there's sacrifices that need to be made. You have to sacrifice. Like for a long time, I feel like we sacrificed health for wealth, right? And so that is probably not the best decision that we made, and we probably could have done it differently and better. But there's things that there's tons of networking events to go to. There's tons of social aspects of this business they have to be involved with. We were talking about this earlier. I mean, the transition of traveling to all the holiday events with all of your networking partners, and you have to show up big. So outside of that, there's sacrifices you have to make with money. I remember a period of time where we were transitioning from broker to banker. I think we went like 8 months without taking a paycheck.
If not
We were
more.
fortunate to be in a position to be able to do that, but it wasn't that big of a position. What I mean by that is we were single with no kids, right, and very little living expenses. And so we were in a position where we could earn from our closings and leave the money in the company, so we can build the net worth to go from being a broker to a banker. And it's like everyone always sees the peak, right? It's like, oh man, you guys are doing great. It's like, yeah, and everyone can, as long as you're willing to do the work. I think I saw you post this the other day, right? Everyone wants the view from the mountain, but no one wants to climb it.
Yeah. And that's
true.
exactly what I was gonna bring up. That's probably the most important part. Everyone envies people where they're at the top and they're like, oh, they're driving the cars, they're doing the things that everyone loves to do, but no one really wants to pay the price for it. You can achieve anything, right? But how much are you willing to give up and sacrifice, right? And you start hearing the stuff that you guys are willing to sacrifice. People don't comprehend. You're taking 8 months of pay that you guys are not receiving, and you're putting it back into your company. That's the level of sacrifice. Your health, wealth, all those things and those sacrifices that you were willing to bring into the company is the reason why you guys are in the position that you guys are in right now. But the thing that fascinates me the most is when people are successful and people who are ready are starting to get to the place where you guys are in the place where you were 23. I can't wait till we have just, we're correspondent lenders, or we're in this position. And then you finally get there. And that's the most interesting part. All the goals that you set for yourself, that you said was going to make you happy, you achieve them. Now what's next? And that's what I love about this industry, honestly, because you can set the bar to wherever you want to be. But in your guys' position, right, you guys have grown to almost every state in the United States. What continues to drive you? How do you guys continue to stay motivated in a place where you guys are in a position where, you guys honestly have grown a powerhouse in the mortgage industry? So how do you guys stay motivated? Like what continues to drive you guys to be the best,
Want to go? Or?
I'll go, and then you answer.
Cool.
We may have different answers than maybe the same.
Probably the same answer.
When we started, it was with a scarcity mindset.
Yep.
And then over time, that transitioned into an abundance mindset, right? It's like, what I mean by that is you're doing it for the money in the beginning because you need it, right? And then you transition into like a place of, okay, I have a decent reserve now. Like you think you can take your foot off the pedal a little bit. That's not what happens though. What happens then is you realize you have a tremendous amount of people that you've surrounded yourself with that you're responsible for. And now it becomes about other people's money, right? And so our job has become like people lifted us up. They taught us the skills and gave us the game plan to put us in this position. So now it's our job to pay it forward. That's why we continue to stay involved with coaching. That's why we are coached. That's why we coach our salespeople internally. That's why we have some of the people here, like Dwight, coach our salespeople internally, because now it's about bringing up the next generation, and making sure that we provide a platform that is secure, because we lived through 2007 and 2008, and then we lived through the last couple years, which was some of the toughest, lowest volume years in the mortgage and real estate world for the last 30 years. And, you know, we want to always be able to provide a great home for people who are looking to win championships, who are looking to be the best they can be, and we want to be the best that we can be. And so what we do is, with our team members, we focus on helping them understand budgeting, understand money, understand sales tactics, right? And so by doing that, we can elevate the next generation of people who are looking to climb that amount of success.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tony, Reno, you want to add to it?
Well, since I've known him since I was 10 years old, I think we were in this exact same wavelength. It stopped becoming about ourselves years ago. I don't know, 7-8 years ago, and it started becoming about other people. And I think that's been a big turning point for us. So it's not really a number that we're chasing. It's making sure that the 600 and some people that are part of our family here are taken care of and are the best versions of themselves.
Right.
I think whether it's operations, sales, we look out and make sure that they have all the tools, resources to not just be successful here at Neighborhood Loans, but also personally, like you said, doing budgets, helping out with work-life balance, and then of course sales tactics, which is super important.
And I love that because the first thing that kind of like turns my everything about the industry and overall is just competitive, right? The competitive nature. I love that about the industry because I'm very competitive myself.
Right.
And one of the commercials I love watching, it's weird. It was a Michael Jordan commercial, and it's like, it goes like this. He's like, maybe I led you to believe that the path to success was easy. Maybe I led you to believe that my journey started at the free throw line. Maybe I led you to believe that everything I've done has maybe changed the game and it looks so easy, or maybe you're making excuses, right? And so a lot of people who get into the industry, any industry, right? Like when you're starting a business, right? I think any industry that you get into, it's a lot easier, and people look at your situation and your goals and they support you until you surpass their own expectations. And then they look back at you and you're like, they might look at you in a negative way.
Yep.
Because ultimately what people do is they kind of envy the fact that they didn't take the risk themselves, and they wish they were in the position that you guys were in. And that's a hard thing for me to grasp because, when I'm in this industry, right, I love everything about it. I love connecting with people. I love networking. I think the hardest part is the continuous to growth and making sure and understanding that you yourself is going to be the driver forever, no matter what the situation is, and not take your foot off the gas. I have a very, very big mindset on like you said, it's more so of a mindset where you're like, I'm going to lose it all if I don't stop. If I take my foot off the gas, everything's going to be gone. I am looking forward to that next chapter where it's like abundance, where you're like, okay, now I want to help people. It's not going to go away if I take my foot off the gas a little bit, but trying to be able to help, the people around you to become the best versions of themselves. And that's why I find it interesting, like, to kind of hear your guys' story. And I'm interested to kind of hear, when you were choosing companies, right, how did that decision making play a part when you were choosing? Because I think you have a really judgment. Like, he's weird, bro. Like, he'll tell you the future, how people are gonna kind of play out, how everything's gonna do.
This is a great transition, because I touched on this earlier and I want to touch on it now too. But this is one of my favorite. Like, Dwight was one of the first big leaders that we brought into this company. We developed a lot of people. We had known a lot of people from the past that helped us out early in the beginning. But Dwight was the first big leader that we had brought on from like outside this company. And he was referred to us through a couple of the guys here that knew him personally and had worked with him in the past, and had told us the level of just the type of person, high character, high integrity, like high quality, the kind of person that will have your back all the time, and so we really wanted Dwight after we met him, right? And like Reno's persistency has probably landed us a ton of the people that we've been able to bring on to, but was necessary. That kind of stuff is when you're trying to land a whale. To us at the time, Dwight was a whale for us at the time, and so when you're trying to land a whale and you're in sales, like, persistency is key. And salespeople know what it takes to be successful. You think you're bothering them, what you're actually showing them is that you have what it takes, because they know what it takes for their sales, right? So So I would encourage you, if you're in any type of sales, that being persistent doesn't necessarily mean you're being a pest, right? Just don't overdo it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like don't call them every day and text them. Like, sprinkle it in over time, and let the relationship begin. Yeah. And so we had several meetings with Dwight in the beginning. It was just building the relationship, getting to know him, discovery. Who are you? Who are we? Do we click? This is the first step to all great relationships.
How do we meet first?
We went to
Through
dinner.
Danny?
We went
Through
to
Danny,
dinner.
though.
Yeah, it was through Danny.
Danny Lopez.
And we went to, these guys picked me up in a nice car. We went to Mastro's.
Yeah.
And it was our very first dinner. And it was like, man, these guys are, and then this was like 3 years before I actually came.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I went to dinner and then the next year was Gibson's, and we had cigars at Oak Brook. So these guys, every year we'd go out, and it was with my couple times with my wife. Yep. So it wasn't just like bring your wife along. And finally, when I decided like I had enough of the lender I was with, I knew that I was already stuck and I couldn't go anywhere. I felt like my career path there has grown to as high as it would go. And I just didn't want to keep on producing. I knew I produced at a high level, and that didn't drive me anymore. So my next chapter was leadership, and I've met every lender, but I also knew I was bringing production. No lender is going to say, oh, yeah, we're not going to give you a leadership position. Of course, I'm bringing production. So they're like, oh, we'll give them a title. And I just didn't want a title. I wanted responsibility. I just didn't want to become because that's 95% of the leaders that are in my position. They're title holders. There are a lot of egos. Like, I can't move unless I'm a regional or whatever, Again, for me, I just didn't want the title. I wanted the responsibility, and I wanted the opportunity, not just a title just to bring me over. And they showed me, when I met with them, they gave me the blueprints. You talk about blueprint and how he's like, this is what we feel, what we can give you, what you're worth. This is the path in the next 5 years that we want you to be in, that we're prepared to help you grow in. And the only ones that did it. The other ones just, again, other people threw a lot more money. And money was biggest driver on most of the people I sat with. And it wasn't about the money. Money is good in the beginning, but I was at my company for 15 years. And if you look at the NMLS and how many people jump, I moved because I needed to, not because I was hurting to. I could still be there now. I could still, production was not going to be a problem for me. But again, I wanted to move forward in my path.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How long you been with us now for?
8 years.
8 years. And did we hit every goal we set on there?
Every goal. The 5th year, this is where you're going to be. Actually, it was a year sooner because you called me up. Every promotion that he's gotten, it's never been him. I want the next promotion to come from him. So it's always been Tony. It's like, come in. I'm like, and these guys never ask much of me. So when is it? I come in. I got to come in. Like, what's going on, And sure enough, he's like, this is what you've done. This is what you've grown to. This is what. And everything that they put in front of me, that the goal they've set, we met, and how they actually just put it out, the blueprint that they did. And it means a lot to me because it gives me that they already see. Most people don't. You might have a vision. I have a vision for you, and you have a vision for yourself. But most people, you said something earlier, most people want you to be successful until you're more successful than they are, right? They put the blueprint in front of me and helped me achieve it, not just gave me what I wanted to hear. They helped me with coaching. I've always told you, surround yourself with the right people. I've always surrounded myself with one of the things I think I've done very well in my career is surround myself with smart people. And when I see them surround themselves with smarter people, which is why they joined the core, which is why they've grown to the level that they've grown. They don't know it all, but they surround themselves with the right people that do, which is one of the main reasons of their growth. So they now share that with me. So then I grow. And then now I'm sharing with anyone that's interested in your position. You're growing. So to their point earlier, everyone steps that ladder. And everyone has the opportunity. Now, whether you want to take it to the top has been a challenging times. Absolutely. Not everything is easy. It hurts. We just 3 years ago, I lost someone. It's probably the most devastating since I've been here. And to their point, you know what? There was reasons why he left, and I understand, and I realized that I wasn't doing things right. Things change, but I made it a vow. He's going to come back. And sure enough, he came back. And happy. Don't get me wrong. Everything happens for a reason. I truly believe that. But you definitely surround yourself with the right people, which is why I have been able to grow the way I have. They gave me the opportunity, and they gave me the education, the coaching, everything that I needed to grow, because they didn't know, but they sought out leaders to teach them, which then they taught me, which is key, because most people, are not willing to share their knowledge with you. There's a lot of people in the industry. These guys put the horse before the carriage. They believe in people, which is why I think there's no secret as to why they've grown. They surround themselves with the right people. They do the right things, even if it's costing them money. I can be here all day telling you stories about these guys, but I'm going to be biased. But I will tell you that at their level, to be as generous as they are, to do the right thing for their salespeople, you don't find that in their position. Most people is all about, I need the profit. I need this to. 90% of the leaders in their position, it's about the dollar. It's about the profitability of the company. And if it's not right for them, it's not going to be done at the company. They don't care. They're like, what's the right thing to do? Did you promise this rate? Okay, we're going to take a 350 basis point hit. You're not getting, these are the kind of things that they do behind the scenes that are the right thing to do. Not because it's going to help their pocketbook, but because it's something that they stand behind. So I do. Kudos to you guys, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's been the best 8 years. I'm going to retire here. Now they're done, dude. I'm gonna need something to get me out, because I'm retiring here. My roots are set here.
For sure.
Hopefully I got another 10 years with you guys. That's my time to retire. But again, it's my job now to bring up the next leaders, so that when they're set, these guys are young. I'm in my 50. I'm 50, so 60, 62 is my time, I think. Hopefully by then you guys are the next generation of leaders that we're building, so this company can be around for as long as you guys want to have it around.
Yeah, right, for sure.
No, I think that one of the most important parts is, again, I trust any judgment and character that he has. And, I still remember to the time when I was interning in the company, and one of the first things that prior to me getting into the business, I remember him transitioning to another company. I had no idea what was going on. I just remember he was telling me, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm getting recruited. And I had no idea. At the time, the only thing I could kind of relate it to was playing baseball in college and going to different showcases and all that stuff. So I'm like, it sounds pretty cool. And I'll never forget when he did tell us that he was going to do the transition. It was one of the coolest stories, and hearing, just the way that this business truly did work. I knew when I got into it, I was going to absolutely love it. Just the way you're networking with people and you're building relationships. That was something for me I knew I absolutely loved about it. But I want to shine something else, right? You guys always talk about sacrifice and how much you guys have dedicated into this industry. And again, I don't think people understand or realize how much time and energy that you guys have brought forth into this industry, and you guys given everything into the industry. I look at, the greats of the world, right? In any respective industry, they sacrifice almost everything to become the best. And in order for you to become the best, people have to realize you have to sacrifice something in order for you guys to be in the position that you guys are in. So I want to dive deep into it. You always told me, we were at coaching calls in the beginning of my career. I remember we were like weekly, and you always told me, work your calendar backwards, treat your family first, then work your actual business. I honestly, me, sometimes I'm on the fly. I'm like, we're fine, whatever. Sales, we'll figure it out. But the bigger you get, you don't realize the value of time until you start getting busy. Now, once you get busy, you're like, all right, well, I'm like you. I'll say yes to everything. Oh, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, tomorrow, we're good. What? And then you get to, fuck, I said yes to 4 people.
Right.
Fuck. At 12 o'clock, okay, we got to move this. We got to do this. Okay, how can we get this? What? How did you guys transition, right? Because obviously I'm sure you guys went through those growing pains. How did you guys transition for not only your personal life, for your family, your wives, your kids? How did you guys transition this business and sacrificing? Because I'm sure there was years where you guys even had to sacrifice a lot for your own family. How did you guys transition into that to now, taking your life back, still running a company, but being able to dedicate your time to your family?
So when we bought the company in 2009, we started working 6 days a week. 12-hour minimum day, 9 to 9, sometimes later. And I think we did that up until we joined the core.
Yeah,
right?
we were pretty confused.
We were confused. We were doing things.
How to do things
We were working
before the
super
core.
hard, 12 to 15 hours a day, sitting there eating like crap, not taking care of ourselves, sacrificing our health, sacrificing our relationships outside of work for the company, and we just didn't know. And I think when we joined the core, we met Rick Ruby and the group, we realized that we have to work smarter, not harder. And at that point, we flipped it in 2014, 15, maybe around that time. And we kept getting better every year. And our calendar keeps getting tighter and tighter as months and years go on. But we then went from all about work to let's reverse it and plug in our family stuff. And if we have kids, well, at that time, I had my son in 2014. But once sports started, I knew that I'd have to plug in sports and, hopefully coach something at some point. And so I had to make time for that. And we realized that when you have a shorter period of time to get the same amount of work done as if you had 8 hours versus 4 hours, you get it all done in 4 hours. I think it's called Parkinson's Law.
Yeah,
Parkinson's Law, yeah.
Right. And so when you think you have, again, 12 hours to get a task done, you can do it all in 2 hours if you just get your mind ready to get it done. And we flipped everything over in 2014, 2015, and we kept getting better and better. And now everything that we do is family first, personal life first, and then we plug in work. Now, we still are sacrificing a lot with all the travel we've had over the last 10 months. We probably travel twice a month for the past 10, 11 months. We try to visit every region that we have, try to go to every core event. There's one in May, one in November. We're going tomorrow to the one in November, and then there's one in August as well, plus all the other travel between meeting our people and recruiting. We're just on the go. So we do try to make sure that our calendar is super tight so that we could spend as much time we can with our family first and then our business.
Right. And that's ultimately the question that I want to kind of dive deeper, because again, like I said, the more you grow, right, like, and this is including myself, and I'm being fully transparent, the harder it gets. And you're like, fuck, I don't want to like not just completely shun away my family, but at a certain point, like, again, it's the whole abundance mindset. I can't let my business go away or else it's gonna go away, right? So finding that balance is gonna be super important. He were talking about yesterday, like figuring time. He wants me to go help him coach his son's team, and he's like, this is a life lesson I'm trying to teach you for your future, because I have my daughter that's 11 months now.
Right.
So I guess I want Tony, your perspective as well. How much sacrifice did you have in the beginning for you and your family? And was there any, like, obviously hardships? Like, how hard is it when you're running a company and with your own family?
Yeah, it definitely can cause frustrations at home when you're working 70 hours a week, right? And I would say that getting on a calendar, not just getting on a calendar, but deciding that you're going to cap yourself at 45 hours a week or 50 hours a week. We did that by working 2 late nights a week instead of working late every night, because your family wants you home, right? They want to spend time with you. They want to see you. They want the best of you, not the rest of you. Right. And so to do that, you got to come home with energy. You got to be present. You got to leave work at work. And in the beginning, that's a difficult transition when you're accustomed to always bringing work home and, me keeping that on top of your mind. But so transitioning the calendar to 2 late nights a week really helped. That was a tactic we learned from our coach. And if we didn't come home on time, we had to pay a fine to our spouses.
That's the next one,
right? And that's this way. They're because let's face it, sometimes it doesn't always work out perfectly. Like if you can hit 90-95% of your calendar, you're doing a great job. Keeping your calendar tight. People don't realize, like, you allow yourself, like when you have white space is when you don't have an appointment in your calendar, right? So our calendars run from basically 10 a.m. to 5:30, let's say, and they run back to back, right? I mean, fill in 30 minutes for lunch, there's no white space there, but back to back, whether it's executive and leadership meetings, recruiting calls, calls with the marketing and advertising team, calls with our CFO, our regional sales managers, our current branch managers, and our loan reps, right? So it's like we spend a lot of time working on and working in the business. And if it's not structured in that fashion with theme days, with late nights, like it becomes overwhelming. So, and then having the right team will allow you to have better work-life balance as well. And that took time. Delegating properly. Oh, I hated it. I hated it. I never wanted to get out of my email. My email was horrible. Like I always had 100 emails, like because to me, and Reno would be on my case about it all the time. Like, dude, your email. I'm like, well, I'm on calls all day. Like, how am I going to be in my email? And that was another lesson we learned. Getting our first assistant that we shared years ago, having them take over our emails. There's things, natural progressions in your growth that will happen. And I think they always happen. We call it the rubber band theory. Like you have to be stretched out thin in an area of your work before you should get someone to assist you to do it. Because what happens is the tension that's created from you being overly busy in that specific area creates an elasticity, and then the rubber band shoots forward when you let it go. So you grow your business after when you're building your team if you get it at the right time. I've seen way too many people try and get team members early and then do no more work because of it and get nowhere. And all you have is a more expensive team that's doing the same business and someone who's just doing less work. But you've experienced what it's like to grow and need team members and then add them and then see what happens when your time frees up because you can delegate some of the work and then go out and spend more time in money-making activities, nurturing clients, nurturing relationships, prospecting, converting leads, following up with your database, like all of those things. You wouldn't have time for them. In the beginning, you have time for all of it because you have no business. And then as you grow your lead count to 50 to 60 leads a month, you know that you need a team member if you want to be able to maintain your service levels with your realtor referral partners, right? And then as you continue to grow your lead count, you can kind of guess where you're going to need to be with team members the way that we have it structured, because we have a blueprint in regards to what loan partners you should get, what their job title, like what the top 3 responsibilities should be, and how that helps you get to your perfect business, right? A lot of that requires planning as well. So when you're looking at it, like every year we get together and we plan on not just what the perfect week looks like, but it's with objectives, right? So we have a very goal-orientated mindset in regards to I'm starting to digress. Let's get back to the question. A very goal-oriented mindset. The question was, how did we get better about like time? Well, first we decided to make a decision that we need to get better about it.
Right.
Right. And so then the decision came with, what can we do? We can tighten up our calendars. We can commit to only 2 late nights a week, right? And we can pay a fine if we're not meeting it. And so it's like you have to identify a problem, come up with several solutions, and then execute. So when you have an issue that you're dealing with, this is how you handle them. And so that would be my advice to anybody who has any of these issues. Like, identify your problem, come up with several solutions, and then execute on it.
No, that's definitely great advice, obviously, because I think when you're in the growth phase, I always call them growing pains. That whole rubber band theory is exactly what I like to call it. I'm very goal-oriented as well. And, you know, I always have a business plan on what I want to do the following year. I don't think I get in as deep as I should in how to execute the actual goal and, like, zoning in on what are the actions that I have to do in order for them to do. I just kind of put my head down and figure out how to make it work. But I do think that is something that a lot of business owners, small business owners, are going to need to figure out in order for them to transition to that next level. There's always going to be that next level and figuring out how to get over the growing pains. I think that we have an amazing team right now that has been able to you know, withstand a lot of volume. And I'm surprised myself where, you know, you get to a certain point, you're like, fuck, dude. I mean, you remember one point, 5 loans was great. Then you get to 10. Then you're like 15. Then you're like, man, you know, you can handle a lot. You can handle a lot when you're under pressure. And I think that's something that the growth and everything I look at whenever the whole journey overall, I love seeing it. I love seeing other individuals who are now joining the team that I could see their growth. That's amazing to see, to be able to have individuals who are hungry themselves and they're growing themselves as well. And I think that's, for me, is where you guys kind of step in, where I look up to you guys so much. I look up to my uncle. I look up to everybody. And that's why, for me, just keeping you guys close, being within the company is just an honor to be around you guys. And I think I want to wrap this up with one more question for both you guys, right? When you guys got into this industry, right, could you guys ever imagined or dreamed of being in the position that you're in right now? Because I tell people all the time, manifesting is everything. I think I've manifested every single thing that I've done right now, but I don't think I could imagine myself right now when I was in college, when prior to high school. Like, I couldn't imagine. I still feel like I'm the same kid from high school, college, or everything. But when you guys are in a position right now, have you guys ever sit back, look at the entire journey for what it is, and just look back and be like, what the fuck happened?
Oh, man.
Manifesting is important because I can tell you
Yep.
one of the things that we talked about is having a flagship office in Chicago. And I've been manifesting that over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to come to fruition. So it is important to manifest.
Yeah.
And I got it from them. Like, D, what do you want to do? This is what. And it becomes conversation. And then sooner or later it becomes reality. So, yeah, manifesting is extremely important.
Everything.
Yeah.
You go first.
All right. Yes, I did think that we'd be at this level. I never knew what, as far as volume or units or size, but we always together knew that we wanted to change the game in mortgage lending and be the outlier, the disruptor that gives a different setup, different deal than anyone else in the industry. And not just making it about ourselves, making it about our people that are here with us. So yes, we did think about this. Again, volume-wise, not
To
necessarily,
the scale,
but as far as where we're at with our people and what we've accomplished with our team, I think we have manifested it for sure.
Love that shit.
Great answer, and I agree. And I would say that when you are looking at a lot of people that we talk to in sales have a big goal, like a big, hairy, audacious goal, BHAG, a lot of people call it. And that's great. But what worries me when people make their goals so big is that they don't take the next step in the process of reverse engineering that into short-term goals, right? And I think where we do very well is we're looking at the next step, and then we're getting it done. And we have a long-term goal in mind, but we've broken it down into bite-sized pieces so that we can consume the work and move towards the objective. So we run, if you've ever read the book Traction, we run our management meetings off of the Traction model. And so we have a 10-year plan, which gets broken down into a 3-year picture and a 1-year goal. And the 1-year goal is broken down into quarterly objectives. And we meet once a week to talk about progress on our quarterly objectives. This is with our executive team. And then once a quarter, we see what we accomplished. We talk about, we'll do like a SWOT analysis. We'll talk about what we want to accomplish over the next quarter. Is it in alignment with our goal for the year? And believe it or not, we've been doing this for the last 4 or 5 years, and we've been hitting 90% of our goals every year. Now the 10%, the 10% is, hey, we decided that this wasn't appropriate anymore, so we are kicking the can on it, or it's not right to do it at all. And it's great to have that kind of structure and organization and alignment, because it makes it very clear to everybody where we're headed. But we're not here talking about where we're going to be in 10 years. We're talking about what are we doing in the next 90 days. Right. And I think if everybody focused on the next 90 days and said, how do I get better over the next 90 days, the 10 years could come and go. Time flies. It's crazy. It's already the end of 2024, and it has flown by. And it feels like COVID started a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's been, 2020.
2020, yeah, it's like 4 years ago.
Right.
It's funny. There was I forgot who it was. It was a speaker. He was talking about marriage, and he's like, exactly that same mindset, but he applied it to marriage. And he's like, how long have you guys been married? It's like 15 years. We don't know if we're gonna make it next year, but we're just going through this year. And he said that every single year.
I'm so glad you brought that up. By the way, did you know I do the same thing with my wife once a year?
Really?
We get together at the end of the year, and we'll go to dinner. We'll make a list of what we want to accomplish. We've been doing this now for about 4 years. 4 years. And it's actually great. What do we want to accomplish next year? What do we want to do with the house? What do we want to get the kids in sports? Like, what kind of vacations do we want to go on? Is there any purchases that we want to make? What do we want our weight to look like? And then we support each other's goals that we want to accomplish. And that is, it's worked. It's been amazing for our relationship. I think our relationship has gotten better ever since we started doing it. And it's something that you can like come back to all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, bring that list out. Like, what didn't we do yet? You know?
Right.
And it's like, you need to grow. We grow a lot personally.
Yeah.
You have to grow at home too with your spouse,
100%.
because if you're not in alignment at home and you're not growing with your spouse and you're feeling disconnected or not engaged, that is going to affect your work. Right. And so I would highly encourage anyone that doesn't do anything like that. It's a really cool exercise, and it's been great for the relationship.
100%. He always told me, like, ever since I first got into the beginning of the career, he's like, your house is everything. If your foundation is broke, your business is gonna fall with it. You know, so your everything at home is gonna be one of the most important parts about your growth, your own journey, and that's exactly where you're coming from. Is like, you know, you take it day to day, right? You take it for what it is, and I think that, you know, a lot of people, and I forgot who said this quote as well. It's like, people overestimate what they'll do in a year and underestimate what they'll do in 10. So it's like taking a step back, reflecting, okay, in this year, yeah, maybe you want to have a big, hairy, audacious goal, but it's like taking a step back, understanding and realizing what you have to do to accomplish those goals. Like, how much do you have to sacrifice? Again, there's a price to everything, but are you willing to pay for it to obtain those types of goals that you're trying to achieve? So, I mean, I guess I wanted to wrap it up with that. Do you have any final remarks on that?
You guys hopefully hear it this time, right?
I know, right? We had it. Yeah, last time there was no audio. So again, thank you guys so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have not already, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications. Make sure you guys got all your notepads out, because this was a great episode. But we appreciate you guys' time.